0.9999999 equals 1. And you might be outraged by that statement, but I can prove it. We all know and accept that 1 over 3 equals 0.333333 on forever. We accept this. It's an equation. And because it's an equation, if we multiply one side of the equation by something and the other side of the equation by the same thing, the output statement will also be true. So if we multiply that entire statement, 1 over 3 equals 0.33333, we multiply that entire statement by 3, we wind up with 1 equals 0.9999999. Now, you might be looking at that and thinking, that's a little tricky, that's pretty shifty, isn't it? Okay. Let's do it another way. Let's say we don't know what 0.99999. It's some number. We don't know what it is. We'll call that number t. All right? We know that t equals 0.9999999. So if we take 10 t's, we wind up with 10t equals 9.9999999, which is the same thing as writing 10t equals 9 plus t. And if we subtract a t from each side, we wind up with 9t equals 9. Divide by 9 and we get t equals 1. Which is strange because earlier we said that t equals 0.99999. And if you stick around for a few minutes, I'll blow your mind even further. This morning I read an article on problematicpeople.com written by YouTube's own Woolly Bumblebee. And as we know, I've written for problematic people in the past, and I was told by Woolly Bumblebee today that, when I disagreed with her immediately, that I'm free to write a counter opinion, but I have so many projects going on at the moment that my video output is suffering because of it. So I've decided to take her on in the arena that I know best. Her article is entitled, "Thank Sargon for Jess Phillips' Victimhood." Or you can thank Sargon, I don't know. I'll link it in the bottom. The overall gist of the video is that Sargon is responsible for the deluge of tweets that Jess Phillips received. There's nothing else we can infer from that. He's responsible for them because he started it. Okay. In mathematics, if we want to prove something, a fun way to do it is to assume the opposite and look for a contradiction. For example, if I make the statement, every time you properly shuffle a standard deck of playing cards, it's likely that you have shuffled them into a combination that has never been dealt by any person in the history of playing cards. If I make that statement, we can assume the opposite and look for a contradiction. That it's likely that you have shuffled them into a combination that has already been shuffled. Well, how many different combinations of playing cards are there? Well, if you have a deck of cards handy, go ahead, get them out. I'll wait. That should have been plenty of time. What's the first card off the top of the deck? I don't really care. What I care about is what the first card could be. It could be any one of 52 combinations. What's the next card off the deck? Well, again, I don't care, but I do know that it's any one of 51 combinations. Anything but the first one you drew. And the next card would be any one of 50, and we can do that all the way to the last one. This is a number called 52 factorial, and it's an absurdly high number. 52 factorial, by the way, comes out to 8.0658 times 10 to the 67th power. So, the assumed claim is that every time you shuffle a deck of playing cards properly, you will have likely shuffled them into a combination that has already been dealt before. Well, we know how many combinations there are, so the odds of you shuffling them into any one combination is 1 in 8.0658 times 10 to the 67th power. That's a 68-digit number. But the odds of you doing the same combination twice, well, that's an even bigger number. But Aldus, you said in the entire history of playing cards. I did say that. So let's be generous and look at it this way. The observable universe has existed for 10 to the 18th seconds. So if you've been properly shuffling a deck of cards at a rate of 1 proper shuffle per second since the beginning of the universe, your odds of drawing any one combination are 10 to the 18th in 8.0658 times 10 to the 67th. Your odds of doing it twice would be 10 to the 18th times 8.0658 times 10 to the 67th squared. But Aldus, you said the same combination as any other person in the history of playing cards. I did say that, any other person. So let's assume that all 7 billion people on Earth have been properly shuffling a deck of cards at a rate of 1 proper shuffle per second since the beginning of the universe. Well, your odds of drawing the same combination twice is 7 times 10 to the 27th power times 8.0658 times 10 to the 67th power squared. Your odds do go up. But here's that number expressed as a percentage. So what does any of that have to do with Sargon? Well, nothing. It's just an interesting fact, and disproving this claim that the woolly bumblebee made would take so little time at all that I needed to pad this video somehow. My stance is that Sargon is not responsible for the deluge of tweets that Jess Phillips received. So, let's assume the opposite and look for a contradiction. We're assuming that Sargon is responsible for the deluge of tweets that Jess Phillips received. One tweet does not equal a deluge, so we have to look at all of the tweets that all of the people sent her. Sargon is responsible for all of them. Well, if Sargon is responsible for all of them, that means that Sargon has some kind of mind control over all of his followers. I mean, how else do you explain all of those people typing in the same tweet and pressing send, or tweet, or whatever the hell the button says, to Jess Phillips, if Sargon is responsible for all of them? If they came from all of those different sources, he must have some kind of control over all of these people. But people have free will. So Sargon doesn't have control over all these people, which means Sargon is not responsible. But wait. That's assuming that people have free will, okay? Well, let's assume the opposite. Let's assume that people don't have free will. If people don't have free will, then Sargon has no personal responsibility for the very first tweet that he sent out in the first place. He has no free will. He was not responsible for that first tweet, and he therefore was not responsible for any of the tweets that followed. It was a little less than a year ago that Thunderfoot was blamed for all of his fans, his hate army, sending all those negative reviews on Yelp. I mean, this blame was unsubstantiated. Of course not. He was not responsible for what other people did. But that claim was still made. And this is the same story here today. A hate army sent all of these tweets to Jess Phillips. Sargon's hate army did this. This is the same claim that the woolly bumblebee is making now. What else can we infer from the article? There's a rule in YouTube politics. It's It's called Aldus Valor's Rule of Reverse Audience Trolling. It was named after me, so I should be able to spot it pretty easily. That's bullshit. You didn't. That's no rule. Nobody named that after you. Yes, somebody did. Agent of Doubt named that rule after me. Because it's a rule I came up with. He named it after me. And if you're thinking, who's Agent of Doubt to name things, and you're part of the great debate community, and you use that term, you must be using that term ironically, because he came up with that term too. Anyway, Aldus Valor's rule of reverse audience trolling basically says that if you target somebody and you piss off their audience, then the audiences of the people that hate that person will come to you. And this rule works almost every time, except for the Woolly Bumblebee exception to Aldus Valor's rule of reverse audience trolling, which says that the people that hate you aren't going to come to you if they already hate you in the first place. I mean, I hate to do this to you, but I was straight up and down with you when we first met. If you're wrong, I'm gonna fucking tell you about it.